What's going on, everybody? How you guys doing? Hey, thank you guys for stopping by. If you're here for the first time, please make sure you let me know if you can hear me, you can see my slides, or you can actually, or you can't see my slides or whatnot. If you're here for the first time, be sure to let me know where you're checking in from, what state you're from, or if you're from a different country and you're checking in on my station, on my channel, let me know. What's up, Abby? How you doing, man? So before we get going, if you guys haven't already, be sure make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. Really is going to help the channel grow as much as possible. I'll try and give you guys a video every week as what I've been doing. I do Baltimore Ravens stuff, but I will talk about some other subjects as well. I try not to give you guys the same type of topics because I don't want to do what every other creator is doing, and I do see things a little bit differently. So I will try and give you guys as many non-Baltimore topics as I can, as you guys are going to see here today. You guys really like the Jalen Hurts and Cam Newton video. You guys messaged me and told me, hey, you should have your own network. And I don't think I should have my own network. I just like to see things from an objective perspective. And I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And I'll always try and look at the other side of the coins. Now, when somebody's deliberately doing something on purpose, then I'm going to call it out as well, as you guys are going to see. Because there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of lists and stuff are coming out when it comes down to it. You got the top linebacker list, you got the top safeties list, you got the top cornerback list, you got the top 100 NFL top 100 came out. It's a lot of different things that came out, a lot of different hot takes. You guys got to remember, especially on social media, whether it be Twitter, whether it be Facebook, whether it be YouTube, wherever you're watching, there's always going to be somebody that's going to put a hot take out there. Now, with that hot take, you can take that hot take as gospel. For me, I take it more than I don't take it more than a potential engagement forum, if you will. And what I mean by that is, hey, I need to get as many people to go watch it, repost it, have the outcry about it and whatnot and so forth. But some of them I have to call them out on. Here's the reason why. It's because those hot takes will come, let's say, hey, it's Monday. I'll release a hot take. On Wednesday, I have a whole nother demeanor about that said hot take when it comes down to it. And it's almost like it's oxymoron when it comes down to it. Like for instance, we're going to talk about the one Ryan Clark said about Joe Burrow not having to take blame or shouldn't take any kind of blame for how the season ended in 2024. But yet we told Lamar Jackson he hasn't done enough, or he hasn't had a good game against certain teams, or he hasn't gotten over the hump, and it's always his fault. He's always going to take the blame. And I don't understand that. It was because there were people before Lamar Jackson had his playoff success. There were people putting Joe Burrow consistently above Lamar Jackson. And, to me, if you're going to put a quarterback above another quarterback, then that quarterback at least got to have the same type of baseline when it comes down to, hey, if we're telling certain quarterbacks that this is a wins or a quarterback stat, if we're seeing that, then we need to make sure that, hey, that goes across the board for every quarterback, regardless of how their team ends up throughout the season. Because what can't happen is, hey, okay, because this team is 9-8 or 7-10, but you got 5,000 yards passing, I'm gonna give you a pass. No, absolutely not. You don't get a pass. Here's the reason why you're not gonna get a pass, because I know if there was a certain set of quarterbacks, they would be killing them in the media, in the national media. So, but we will talk a little bit more in depth, and I'll talk to you guys I will show you guys a video about that. So if you guys are here for the first time, again, just let me know you're here, what state you're checking in from. And then also, as I pull up my slides, you guys let me know if you can't see anything or something is too rich for you. Because again, I don't know what everybody's physical limitations are. So if you can't see my video or you can't see my slides or can't read anything, please let me know so I can make you as comfortable as possible. All right. So first things first, we'll talk about it. The rookie Desmond Washington. And some people know his story. Some people seen some of the stuff that happened to him throughout the draft and whatnot. And I got to call it out. I'm gonna call it out. Here's the reason why. I understand. Yes, he's an undrafted free agent signing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I understand that. Hey, this young man is on a program or a regime trying to get him underweight or down in his weight to lose to get the playing weight. But there is no definitive playing weight for him because he's played at the collegiate level heavier than what he was. He has already lost 25 to 30 pounds before the draft. So when it comes down to what I don't like about it is why trot him out there at the training camp if you're going to not play them. Because for me, that basically says that tells me one or two things. Hey, I want this kid out here to kind of suffer when it comes down to it, to teach him a lesson. Or hey, look, we haven't really did our due diligence when it comes down to hey, look, let's put him with a personal trainer, let's put him with a nutritionist, and we're not even gonna trot him out to the practice field. We're not even gonna trot him out because you got to answer for that. You got to answer for the questions. Hey, look, why is this guy not playing? What's going on with him? Yada yada yada. And then if we're sitting here saying, hey, we don't know if this guy is going to make the team, the final 53, or even the practice squad, then again, I would sit here and say, hey, look, I don't want any kind of negative distractions or anything outside of what we're doing here in Tampa Bay, trying to get back to the NFC Championship or even go contend for a Super Bowl. And I just felt like, hey, trotting them out there, letting them sit around, it almost looks sad. And what I mean by it almost looks sad is somebody was telling me, hey, he's an adult. He shouldn't have to go through these things. We don't want to baby him. But at the same time, this is a business. If I'm sitting there saying I want your services for how you are quote unquote as is purchase, right? Or as is business decision. Now I then turn around and say, hey, look, all right, based off you coming in and you're close to 500 pounds, hey man, in order for us to actually let you know you're going to make the roster, here's your left and right limits. Hey, you cannot be no more than this, and you can lose whatever you need to lose. Just don't lose too much because we want you to be our nose tackle in the future. And if that is the case, let it be that and let it be known. Quit trotting the guy out there and letting him sit around not do nothing. I think you could spend his time a little bit more. His time should be a little bit more valuable when it comes down to hey, what we're losing. And I got it. You only can work out so many times throughout the day. But what I'm sitting there saying is, put him in some kind of program to where it's going to keep him busy as much as possible so he feels like a part of the team. Because I'm telling you, if it doesn't go the way he wanted to go when it comes down to hey, losing the weight and getting to be a part of the team, now you got to sit here and motivate that guy. You got to motivate that guy back to be a part of the team. And I just felt like, hey, put him in a situation where he feels like he's accomplishing something and he's a part of the team, not sitting around, not doing anything. I just felt like, hey, we need to use this time a little bit better than having him sit out and walk around and kind of do what he's doing right now, playing with a towel. I just don't see how you make the call to actually put the guy on the roster temporarily, and then now you then don't give him an opportunity to go out and prove what he's able to do. I just feel like, hey, you should give him more opportunities. So if you guys have seen this story in the comments, let me know what you guys think about this when it comes down to the Desmond Washington situation. And I got it. Some people want to say, he shouldn't be fat or hey, he should have lost the weight prior to the draft. But at the same time, we got to have that same energy with the team as well, because you could have let this guy stay at home and told that guy, hey, look, man, you're 464. Hey, get down to 400, and then we'll give you a call back. Or we'll keep you in our mentions until you get down to the 400 pounds that we need you to play at. Whatever parameters you wanted to set them, and then bring them along. Because right now, again, what Todd Bowles said, he don't have a timetable on when we can get him down to or when that comes. He doesn't know that. So again, rather than trot him out there, you could have just said, hey, okay, get to where you need to be. Whatever we're going to establish, let's say, hey, we think your playing weight would be 400. All right, cool. Luke, get to the 400, and then I'll give you a buffer to that way you don't feel like you totally lost your particular time. I'll give you a buffer. Hey, 402, we can work with you. 405 is too much. So again, if you establish those parameters like that, I feel like, hey, Now we're getting this guy to work somewhere, work towards something versus just being out there. So, again, if you guys have seen this story or you've seen about this or heard about this, please let me know what you think in the comments from wherever you're watching. All right, so oh man, we had some people request some trades, and look, listen, I'm gonna tell you how I think about trades. Okay, trades are just talks or negotiation tactics until something in fruition comes into play. Hey, this particular owner has these two particular package deals, and they're definitely going to take one of these two, some of that nature. Or hey, people starting to move people around and stuff like that, and you get the typical, you know, Terry McLaurin has now unfollowed the Commanders, or Terry McLaurin has now started following DK Metcalf, or Terry McLaurin was working out with Lamar Jackson. You get all those different type of things, and none of those things mean anything. So people stop doing it, stop falling for it, stop saying, "Hey, the dude is definitely coming here." Because I know there's one fan base. I'm not going to mention them. There's one fan base. If you go off what been put out in the atmosphere, they have a all world wide receiving core. I'm talking about they're going to probably have two or three 1,000-yard receivers. They're going to have double-digit touchdowns. If you go off of what's been put out in the atmosphere as far as social media. So again, I wouldn't dig too deep into the details of what's transpired and whatnot, because there's some of those things do happen. Like, hey, that could be a tactic for me. Hey, look, I want to unfollow this particular team, and I'm gonna go follow a team to quote unquote make it seem like, hey, this particular team is interested in it. And no team is going to come out and say, hey, you know what, we're definitely interested in Terry McLaurin. Because if we do that, guess what that's going to do? That's going to essentially drive up the number. It's going to drive up the number for what the Washington Commanders have to come off of. And then on top of this, if I know two or three teams are into it, that can start a bidding war. I don't think that's the plan when anytime these guys request trades or whatnot. And then what it also does is if you do stuff like that, now you essentially force the hands of the team that's going to lose you. For instance, if I say, hey, you know what, I'm going to unfollow my current team, and I'm going to go follow some players off these other teams that I didn't follow before. I only followed them after the trade request. So right then and there, I could say, hey, as a team that you requested a trade from, I'm not going to trade you whatsoever because you went and did these little petty things. So teams like to be petty as well. So don't think because hey, they're quote unquote $1 billion entity, they won't do stuff in their benefit to be petty as well. So for instance, hey, watch the Commanders have this player and say, I want to get a trade. And they start following Green Bay, Pittsburgh, and the Rams. How do we not know that owner is not on the phone with this other owner saying, hey, man, are y'all really going to give him $30 million a year? No, we're not. Or they could say, yes, we are. Or however they want to say it, or they don't have to answer the phone. But we don't know if those conversations are happening behind closed doors. And then now, guess what happens? That either drives the number up or that allows that particular team that's quote unquote supposed to be the losing team. If I know nobody's going to not give him $30 million a year, and I'm using this as an example, if I know nobody's not going to give him $30 million a year, then guess what? I feel good about this particular trade request because at the end of the day, me as a losing team, I have to agree with that particular trade. It's not like he can say, hey, I want to go get traded to X, Y, and Z teams, and he can go get traded to X, Y, and Z teams, and I don't have to agree with the package. I have to agree with the package as a losing team. The gaining team, of course, they're going to agree with most of the stuff that comes. If I'm getting a player and I don't have to pay said player that $30 million that you guys are asking, I have them pay half of it, or I don't lose a lot of draft capital or whatever it may be, that's a win-win for me because even if he comes to me as a rental, I think that could put me in a really good situation for that current year. And a player like Terry McLaurin's caliber, look, he's been underrated most of his career. It's just being honest. He's been consistently 1,000-yard receiver. I think he only missed 1,000 yards 1 year, and that was his rookie year. And even then, I think he got 915 yards or something like that. But the dude has been a model of consistency and been hella underrated especially with the quarterback play. I know the Commanders fan base is super excited about Jaden Daniels and his trajectory of what he's currently on. And I just believe keeping him there only adds to it. When you take him away, especially because they have a young receiving core and they got Debo Samuel this past offseason, I just feel like him and Debo together complement each other very, very well. And I just feel like they got to keep him in the building as much as they can, or try to do everything they can to satisfy whatever his needs are. Because I don't feel like, hey, you should let this type of player walk out of your building. I just don't believe you're going to get the return on investment that you're thinking about. Because even if you trade with a team, let's say the Jets, you trade with a team like the Jets, and the Jets, give you their first round draft pick. Let's say the Jets finish, to where you get a top 5 draft pick. That top 5 draft pick has to be a player that's going to come in and have immediate impact as a Terry McLaurin, either on offense or defense, and then it has to be worth it, right? And what I mean by worth it is because you lose this on offense, you got to basically make up that some kind of way, shape, form, or fashion, whether it be, hey, I draft a running back that can give me some of those touchdowns that he had. But again, look at his ranks. His ranks is, listen to me, these are the wide receiver 1 numbers for most teams, right? And I say most teams. The reason I say most teams because some teams already have definitive wide receiver 1 guys that have those type of production. So getting 1,000 yards, the touchdowns is what was crazy to me. I think he had 13 receiving touchdowns. I didn't even think about that when it comes down to him being second in receiving touchdowns. That again, adding this to a contender, man, this could really put a team over the hump, right? And so I know some people were talking about, where would he go, and who he would, what quarterback could use his services and whatnot. A lot of people were, kicking out Pittsburgh as an option and whatnot. Pittsburgh has some good draft capital coming up in this next draft, but the money got to line up too. Because I would imagine if this happens, I don't think Washington Commanders are going to say, hey, look, knowing that we got to pay Jaden Daniels, I don't think we're going to turn around and say, hey, look, we're going to fork out the money right now, knowing that, hey, later on I got to pay Jaden Daniels. Now, some people may say, hey, that's the whole reason to do it. It's because they don't have to pay Jaden Daniels just yet. So if that is the case, then I would imagine this would probably be a 2-year deal. If it gets done, it'll be a 2-year deal and give him the whatever he's asking per year. That's what I would imagine would happen if a deal gets done to move him to a particular team. Now, the other thing is, are they going to get a player in return? That's the other thing is like, do they want an offensive player? Do they want a defensive player? Because Pittsburgh had tons of defensive players. Offensive players, I don't see the offensive players that they would want when it comes down to, hey, whether it's a lineman, or whether it's a running back, whether it's another receiver, whether it's a tight end. You can sit here and try and package it. Hey, Pat Fryermuth in a draft pick or something of that nature. All that stuff gets kind of spotty when you start adding players and you start adding draft picks and whatnot. I just don't see if a team like Pittsburgh would be in the market for this if he is demanding the 25 million to 30 million a year that I'm hearing on social media. Again, I don't trust anything on social media, but that's what I'm hearing. And if that is the case, I just feel like that's a pretty steep number for a lot of teams when it comes down to paying for a wide receiver. Even as consistent as he has been, I just don't see it because, again, we got to sit here and remember, yes, those receiving touchdowns are awesome. Those yards are awesome. But when it comes down to the juice versus the squeeze, I don't see too many teams wanting to pay $30 million a year for a wide receiver unless he's in the conversation for a triple crown every year. And even then, being in the conversation for the triple crown is cool and everything. But it's about how much do you contribute to winning. Not saying Terry hasn't done his fair share of helping the Commanders win, but is he the only guy there on the offense? As far as receivers, you can say that, but those guys are still young. And I just want to say, hey, after this year, will probably tell me if he's going to be worth what he's demanding when it comes down to if that is what he's demanding. I don't know for sure if he's demanding the upwards of 25 million, closer to 30 million a year. If he is demanding that, then this particular year should be, hey, go show me that I'm wrong about you, and then we can come to the table and then go from there. But what do you guys think when it comes down to Terry McLaurin? What teams do you think you would like to see him be traded to if he's traded? A lot of people are already talking about, hey, no, I know it won't happen, but if he goes to the Ravens, man, that would be crazy. Look, the Ravens almost definitely have to trade a receiver or two and probably cut some people if they're going to try and make something like this happen. I don't see it. I don't even think the Ravens would even call about this particular player. I just don't see it because then you disrupt all the chemistry that you work towards right now, especially in training camp. We had some good chemistry with some young wide receivers and some old faithfuls. So I just feel like, hey, everything we got going on right now, I would not like to have a more of a wide in between a wide receiver one and wide receiver two get supplanted into the team right now. I just wouldn't like that because again, it disrupts all the stuff we've been building thus far in training camp. So, but yeah, if you guys have any particular destinations that you think Terry McLaurin would benefit in, I have a few that I wouldn't mind seeing it happen, and partly because of what skill set he has. Like for instance, the swap, him going to the 49ers. I wouldn't have an issue with that because that could help the young wide receiver core. It also could help free up George Kittle a little bit more when it comes down to, hey, not having to get double team or get bracketed in the middle of the field and whatnot. So I feel like the 49ers will be a good destination for him. Let's see. And what I do when I do these things, I kind of just look at the quarterback. I look at the quarterback and the receiver core that he's going around. For instance, Miami wouldn't be a bad fit, but it's what are they going to give up? What would they give up to get a player like this? Would they give up a Tyreek Hill? Would they give up a Jalen Waddle? Don't know. A lot of people talk about some people talk about the Eagles. Look, that's not happening. I'm going to tell you right now. The NFC East, they are learning from their past mistakes, and what I mean by that, the Saquon Barkley thing is still lingering around the GM offices of the NFC East, and they're like, "Look, we cannot have this happen because again, I would not want to trade a player or let a player go, and then that particular player ends up on my rival, and that particular player wins the Super Bowl. I would not want to be a part of that, especially again in back-to-back years. That would be crazy if that happened. But that's neither here nor there. So yeah, again, wherever you guys think Terry McLaurin should go, let me know. I think he stays put in with the Commanders. I think it's just a hey, look, we're putting out there. We're trying to drive up the number. And that's what I think this is. All right, so moving along, we got another trade target, a guy that says, hey, look, I want to be traded. You guys can read, you guys can see what he posted out there. One of the things I want to talk about is his productivity. For me, yeah, he doesn't have 100 sacks in 60 games or whatever it may be. But when we're talking about productivity in the time that he's been there, he is right on par with the perennial pass rushers of the league. And whether you say, hey, look, the guy hasn't been consistent because he missed some time or whatever it may be, but I can tell you, if he plays in the games, he's typically getting a sack or influence the game in some shape or form. So what I did is I took the sack leaders for the last 5 years, and basically I looked at their games played, right? And so he has the least amount of game played, but he's in the top 10 of sacks. So as you guys can see, these particular numbers, he's top 5, right? And what that boils down to is that, hey, no matter what, no matter who they're playing, the guy has been effective at his pass rushing duties, whether he has a complimentary piece on the other side of him or not. He has been doing what he's been asked to do and has been good at it. And then how they did him is just like, I don't understand that because he posted a message, or he posted some notes from his notepad that he wrote down that he transcribed, and he basically said, he thought the deal was supposed to be done around these particular times, but the Cowboys didn't even approach him. He talked about it. Hey, your agent is supposed to handle this, and they didn't even talk to his agent. So then he was like, you know what? All right, I'm gonna leave it alone, and then I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna just play the game the way I'm supposed to play the game. Season ends another time. They're thinking, hey, the contract's supposed to get talked about. Hey, look, we'll get in contact with you. Nobody get in contact with them. And I just think that's not how you do business with a premier position on the football field. Because I can tell you right now, Micah Parsons goes to any one of your NFC East rivals, it's game over. That particular team now becomes a favorite for your division, and probably a favorite to lead the charge of representing the NFC East or NFC in the Super Bowl. So again, if you take him and put him on Washington Commanders, again, Washington Commanders, they leapfrog the Eagles, I think, in this situation if they get a Micah Parsons. You take him and put him on the Giants. Look, if the Giants' offense could ever get back to where they were, I want to say it was year three of Saquon or something like that. I think they won 10 games, if I remember correctly. It was one of those years that Saquon, they had a good record. But if they can go to where they were then, I feel like they have something that they can work with when it comes down to Scatterbo, Russell Wilson, and Slayton coming back. I feel like they have to. They got to respond because the rest of the division is trajecting up, and they can't continue to get worse. They can't. It's impossible. Brian Daboll is on the hot seat. They gotta eventually turn the ship around. They have to. They have to eventually get back to the point to where, hey, look, we're getting closer to winning 10 games and whatnot. The other thing about it is, or at least the next team, we talked about the Commanders, talked about the Giants, and then we know, hey man, if he goes to the Eagles, we're talking back-to-back Super Bowls. We're talking about back-to-back Super Bowls because the Eagles did lose some pass rushers in the offseason. Again, the Eagles don't have a 21 a year sack, 21 sack a year guy, but they have some guys that chip in 8 sacks here, 8 sacks there, 5 sacks here, 5 sacks there, 6 sacks there. Those guys collectively get after the quarterback. And that's the cool thing about it, because then now we're talking, hey, you don't have to be in every down, Parsons. That's going to keep you fresher. So now if you put him in that type of situation, yeah, okay, the 15 sacks a year or whatever it may be may slowly dwindle down. But his effectiveness is still there. And now he can be effective for longer periods throughout the season instead of, hey, look, all right, man, by week 14, if you've been playing 85% of the snaps, then of course, hey, I'm not going to be as good late in the season when I need it the most. So I feel like, hey, if he goes to the Eagles, again, that's a no-brainer for them if he becomes available and they get a chance to get the guy. I believe they will do everything they can to try and get him. But there are some other teams that are out of the division that people were talking about. I've seen Minnesota. I've seen the Patriots. I've seen the Lions. I've seen the Chargers. I've seen the Cardinals. There's a bunch of different teams when it comes down to being in the mix. And the reason why teams are going to be in the mix is because, again, it's one of those premier positions, right? And then we know, hey, this guy, if I pair him up with somebody else, man, we could really get busy. And I just felt like, hey, the Cowboys would be crazy to let this happen, to let this shake out, and he turns around and he hits free agency or he goes on the trade market for real and he actually gets traded. Jerry Jones, I don't think you're the greatest GM. I don't think you're that bad of a GM to be like, hey, look, I got this generational talent here and I'm going to let him walk because I decided not to pay him. I just don't think Jerry Jones is going to continue to make those type of mistakes because some players, you had a chance to do that, and I think you let people walk. Like, for instance, Amari Cooper. I think it was Amari Cooper that he let walk. The guy was 2 years removed from being a Pro Bowl player, and you just let him, just trading him basically for peanuts. I just don't see you doing that again. And I'm not saying Amari Cooper and Parsons are on the same productivity level. What I am seeing though is that person, that particular player was a complementary piece of some sort to you, offensively, defensively, whatever it may be. He was giving you something, and you basically trade him. I think you trade him for like a 6th-round pick or something crazy like that. So again, I don't think Jerry Jones let that happen again. If he does, it would be a total head scratcher for me because again, I just don't see Parsons playing anywhere else. So both of these guys that we talked about with Terry McLaurin and Micah Parsons, I don't believe they go anywhere. I think they stay put. The reason why I say they stay put because now we're talking guys that want to get top dollar. Yeah, it's cool that you want to get top dollar. Not every team has that in their particular cap space to give you top dollar. So what would have to happen is, hey, the Cowboys say, hey, we're going to pay 60% of his salary, and you pay 40%. Something like that will have to happen because if not, what's going to happen? Let's say, hey, you do trade this guy, and they agree to trade him. This particular player, if they were a free agent, they particular players, hey, look, I come here for that year, and after that year, I'm done. I'm a rental, 1 year rental, and then he turns around and he can go anywhere he wants to go. And then you know for a fact, hey, our cap room is already trash. So guess what? We traded for him. We didn't win the Super Bowl or whatever it may be. He has no loyalty to us. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn around and go right to your division rival that we just played all this particular year, these games we played. I'm gonna go to your division rival. Reason being is because at the end of the day, I'm trying to get paid. Right? There's certain times in people's career to where like, look, they're coming to a fork in the road. Do I want to get paid for what I do, what I produce, right? Or do I want to continuously give team discounts? Continuously give team discounts. Now, what really matters is do you win and how often do you win and where do you go? For instance, we win a lot of games, we don't go to the playoffs and win any games. We win a lot of games, make it to the Super Bowl. Okay. We win a lot of games and we end up winning the Super Bowl. Those things matter when it comes down to players wanting to stay put because it's not a coincidence the Philadelphia Eagles are getting team-friendly deals by some of their players. And again, all of them don't take team-friendly deals, but it's not a coincidence that it feels like, hey, every year the Philadelphia Eagles feel like they have their Avengers as their team because again, I've been winning consistently. I've been getting to the NFC Championship or the divisional round or whatever it may be, but I've been a constant staple in the playoffs and going to the NFC Championship at least. So right then and there, hey, I tell the guy that can be my pitch. Hey man, we're gonna go and try and win another Super Bowl. Okay, that's not unbelievable because guess what? They won a Super Bowl in the past year or so. So again, if I say, hey, let's run it back. No harm, no foul, because guess what? I'm happy here. I'm happy here. At the end of the day, yes, $140 million for 2 years, that's awesome. But once that 140 million has been accounted for or gone or diminished, guess what? You got to sit here and say, hey, look, how am I going to be remembered? Do people remember me for winning a Super Bowl? Do people remember me for being the Defensive Player of the Year? Do people remember me for being an All-Pro? People don't remember you for, hey, you had a 2-year, $140 million contract. That's cool right then and there, but about 3 or 4 years go by, people don't even talk about your contract. If they did, we'd still be talking about Albert Haynesworth. We don't. We don't talk about it. In fact, when we do talk about it, we talk about his contract basically being super lucrative for him not having to do anything. So, but again, I think McLaurin and I think Parsons both stay put. I just don't see at this day and this point in the season or ramping up to the season that these guys get traded. Now, this could change depending on how these teams are come closer to the trade deadline. When teams get closer to the trade deadline, this may change. For instance, if we're saying, hey, I think trade deadline is week 8. If we're saying, hey, one of these particular teams is 2-5 or something of that nature, or 3-4, and it's not looking good, it's like a bunch of sour grapes. Hey, the echoes may get very, very loud then when it comes down to the trade. And then now we started saying, okay, look, we need to offload him anyway, because guess what? We're not going to re-sign him, or we're not going to extend him or give him another contract. Guess what? We might as well go ahead and offload him for these 9 remaining games. And then, hey, we were not going to make the playoff. So we're essentially going to, quote unquote, tank the rest of the season to get a top 10 draft pick. And then we'll offload this particular crazy contract anyway. And then now we tell ourselves, hey, our team is on the uprise because we got rid of a big contract. We got a top 10 draft pick, and we got our cap room back that we needed. So again, it's good to say those things, but you still got to hit on those draft picks, because there's one thing to get rid of a player and his salary, but then you lose that productivity. That's the thing. That's the kicker. You got to make sure you keep that kind of productivity up if that said player is now offloaded prior to the trade deadline. So you got to make sure you keep your productivity at all costs, and that's the one thing that's been very, very hard for teams to kind of try and replicate. So now I'm going to show you guys this video. It's not a long. And hey, shout out to Sarah Ellison, by the way. If you guys know who Sarah Ellison is, please follow her on all the different platforms, YouTube and Twitter. She does a phenomenal job representing the Baltimore Ravens. But this is a video that she posted, and it was about Ryan Clark talking about Lamar Jackson one day. And they're 2 days apart. I think it was July 29th and July 31st or something like that. And it was him talking about, how great of a talent Lamar Jackson was. And then he talks about Joe Burrow not having to take any kind of accountability for his team and how they fare. And I just find it very, very interesting, because
the numbers bearing out that Lamar Jackson is historically one of the greatest passers that have ever lived, then that's true. But none of it matters. Mm-hmm. We all agree Lamar Jackson is one of the greatest talents to ever play any position in this league. He's one of the best quarterbacks we have ever seen, and still he needs to win the big game. Joe Burrow takes none of the blame for the Cincinnati Bengals not making it to the playoffs. And you look at last year, and he's the best quarterback in the world, and it's not a conversation.
It's hilarious to me. It's one of those things you just kind of look and you kind of laugh at it. It's because, was he an All-Pro last year? Did he make the Pro Bowl? Did his team make the playoff? All these things, I'm asking all these things is because at some point we got to stop giving out sympathy to certain quarterbacks because we want to, hey, let's get a shock value here, or let's put out this engagement form, or whatever it may be. We have to stop doing that, because we know let the Baltimore Ravens miss the playoffs and Lamar Jackson finish the season healthy. I will tell you right now, we would have to turn off most of the sports media that following Monday, because again, I know they will go through tooth and nail to find every way and everything that was wrong with Lamar Jackson's game and so forth and so on. Now, you can have an opinion and you can say, hey, Joe Burrow gets 20% of the blame, or 30% of the blame, or 40% of the blame. But to say he don't get none, that's really, really crazy to me. Here's the reason why. Who took the snaps? Who were they snapping to? Who threw the passes? You know what I'm saying? The plays that was called in, did you not like them? Do you not have audible autonomy? You can't audible into anything that you want to? Because for a while there, if I remember correctly, I want to say about week 14 or 15, we were talking about Joe Burrow being the MVP. That same network. We're talking about Joe Burrow garnering MVP votes. So if you're going to garner MVP votes, that means you're responsible for your team, putting your team in a situation where it's good, bad, or indifferent. It is recognizable by somebody, some analyst somewhere saying, hey, you are doing a heck of a job and you stand out amongst the other 31 quarterbacks in the NFL. And if that is the case, then guess what? I need to be able to give you some blame when it all blows up. There's no harm, no foul. Hey, it's not personal. It's not personal. I got to do a job. That's the whole thing about, if you're going to do these type of things, you got to remain objective. And again, I don't feel like this was objective by saying he doesn't have any blame, because I will tell you, what's his name? CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, I can tell you right now, let him not make the playoffs this year and watch what happens. I can almost assure you somebody's going to chop that kid's head off basically in the media, because of what he's not able to do. And they're going to say, hey, he's starting to look like a bust. He's starting to look like this or whatever it may be. He's not going to get the benefit of the doubt like a Joe Burrow, like some of the other quarterbacks. And that's crazy to me, because you got to hold every quarterback to the same measuring stick if you're going to definitively say somebody is better. Somebody is better, then I need to be able to say why that particular person is better. If that person doesn't get any kind of accountability, then no quarterback should have any kind of accountability when the rest of the team is not able to overcome whatever the deficiencies are. I just don't see how that is been an issue for the Bengals for quite some time. And then when it blows up, we're quote unquote saying, hey, Joe Burrow doesn't get any blame for it. But we were also the same people trying to put him, hey, he's quarterback number 2, right behind Patrick Mahomes a few years ago when he made it to the Super Bowl and lost. We put him, hey, Joe Burrow, I think, is the best quarterback, depending on who it is. Another take I wanted to talk a little bit about, and I didn't put the video up, it was Mike Tannenbaum. Mike Tannenbaum take was even more outrageous than this one. They asked about who is the most talented quarterback in the NFL. And again, I gave you guys the top 4, and I gave you a reason why they were the top 4. If you want to put one of those top 4 guys in there, no harm, no foul. But this man looked at the camera and deliberately and doubled down on it and said Jordan Love was the most talented quarterback in the NFL. And look, I'm glad I wasn't watching it, because I probably would have threw my TV at the remote when he said that, because it was just super crazy and outlandish, and it was unnecessary. Like we hadn't even talked about Jordan Love being a top 5 quarterback for the 2025 season, but somehow, some way, Mike Tannenbaum said he's the most talented quarterback in the NFL. And I'm not sitting here dogging Jordan Love. That may be true. He may get up to the ranks of the top 5 consistently. But what I'm saying currently, right now, absolutely not. Because this season, if the NFL ended as an organization right now, Jordan Love would not be talked about as a top 10 quarterback, let alone the most talented quarterback. That's crazy to me. But again, I told you guys, you got to watch out for the engagement forums, and I think that's what he went for. He said, hey, you know what? The ratings are kind of low. Let me put something out there, kind of Skip Bayless-ish, and let me go ahead and get the numbers up. And I think that's what went on versus let me put out a realistic take and see if the people jive with it or whatnot. Either way, don't get too caught up in that. I just believe it was just something to be said. So, but all right, moving along, we're going to talk about the training camp, what's been going on with the training camp. From what I'm seeing, there's some good things happening. There's some bad things happening. I'll talk about the bad things first, because I want to kind of end on a good note. But some of the bad things that have been happening, offensive line has been struggling. They've been trying to get the cadence right. They want to go on a different type of cadence. And I felt like that's where some of the false starts were coming from. And reason what I'm thinking that they were trying to do is trying to implement some version of a silent count or some of that nature. Because when you get into crowded situations and the crowd is really booing, how do we try and mimic what's going on when it comes down to crowd noise or communication issues or whatever it may be? So what do we do when it comes down to the snap count? And I just feel like I'm cool with that. Work through all your kinks right now, because now when we get in a Buffalo, when we get into Kansas City, we already worked through, hey, what's going to be our cadence count? Are we going silent? Are we going signal? What are we going to do when it comes down to our particular cadence? And that, to me, that spells growth for Todd Monken, all the coaches that are involved, that we are looking at all different ways to try and get this thing right, to where when we go into on the road, no matter where we are, we don't feel like we're at a disadvantage. And I know the crowd is not cheering 100% of the time, But when we get into hey, we need it. The close games is what really matters. So, like for instance, we get in Kansas City, we're down by 4 points. We got the ball. Crowd is amped up. How do we slow things down or keep things within a tempo for us where we're not having false starts or people doing crazy stuff, not running the route properly, that type of stuff. So I'm cool with them working out any kind of scenarios to where this emulates what we got when it comes down to, hey, we're in Kansas City, we're down by 3 points. Those situational type of practices they work wonders. They work wonders. We do it all the time. Whether we say, hey, look, we do 2 minute drill, we do 4 minute drill, and it's supposed to be an offensive thing, but it also benefits the defense as well because right then and there, the risk and the reward is super high for both offense and defense in a 2 minute drill or in a 4 minute drill. So you got to basically make sure, hey, look, get the calls in, but I got to stay disciplined as well. I can't give certain things up because where I'm on the field may be more of an advantage for the offense than for the defense. So again, I think as long as they have those type of practices, I'm okay with those type of things happening when it comes down to the false starts. Now, we were just false starting just because or out of position just because, and we weren't trying to implement something. I would totally be like, man, we don't look good at all. But I'm happy they had their little growing pains for it, and hopefully this translates to on the field in game situations. If that translates to where now, hey, look, we can come away with the big play in a 2 minute drive or a 4 minute drive to win a game against a big rival or division opponent. Look, I would say it's all worth it when we get that type of thing to happen. So, shout out to Todd Monken. Todd Monken was, I didn't know how humble he was, but he was very, very humble throughout this 8 days of training camp. A lot of people was trying to give him praise for the developmental look of Lamar Jackson, but then he then turned around and deflected any of that praise and gave it to T. Martin. I knew what T. Martin was. I've been around T. Martin, watching him develop pieces out when he was over at USC. I watched him as a player. Again, I felt like I felt like T. Martin was an integral part of the Ravens when they picked Lamar Jackson and keeping him here. Because again, there were talks about him moving on to being an OC somewhere. And I was happy that they retained him, and hopefully they keep him for even longer, and he doesn't start to garner any kind of offensive coordinator or even head coach looks. Because if he does, I'm not sitting there saying it's going to take a step back, but we got continuity there, and without that continuity, Lamar has to learn a new coach, and I wouldn't like that, especially right now because quote unquote we're in Lamar Jackson prime. If we're in Lamar Jackson prime, I don't want him to switch offensive coordinators or quarterback coach or passing coordinators or whatever their titles are. I would like for them to have as much continuity moving forward as possible and as often as he needed. So, what's up, man? How you doing, Nightmare? So yeah, when it comes down to who's having a good camp, these guys that I put up here, it's not limited to. And when I say by good camp, certain players have expectations. Like Lamar Jackson, he better have a good camp, right? Lamar Jackson shouldn't be a surprise. You got me? Derrick Henry should have a good camp. He shouldn't be a surprise. What I kind of do is I don't want to give you the obvious stuff. The obvious stuff is hey, Derrick Henry ran for 45 yards and stiff arm somebody, or Zay Flowers caught an over the shoulder touchdown. Those type of things are expected to happen, right? I will tell you, Tavius Robinson has looked significantly different because I know the fan base. We got on this guy saying he didn't have pass rush moves. He is starting to show those things. So he has some pass rush moves. And I will tell you, if him and Mike Green maximize both of their potential, man, we could be in for a really, really good treat. I know we had the triple crown on defense in 2023, but man, I wouldn't be surprised if everything gels and we have health throughout the season. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a run at it again for the triple crown. And I got it. We got the Eagles defense, we got the Broncos defense, we got the Steelers defense. But I just like everything that the Ravens have thus far. The only thing that worries me is the linebacker position when it comes down to who's playing beside Roquan. And again, Roquan's going to do what he's doing. I'm happy for him because again, people are saying, hey, he's going to show up fat again, and he did not. He right now he looks the part. He looks like an all-pro linebacker, the middle of the pack, field general for the Baltimore Ravens. So hats off to him about blocking out the noise and saying, hey, look, I got it. I kind of let my team down the first couple of weeks last year, the first start of the season. But we're not doing that this year. We're not doing that this year. We're not going to have issues, and I'm going to be the best I can possibly be to get us there. Because we know, look, the defense changed significantly without Roquan Smith in the lineup. It does. We can say whatever we want. We know the defense is totally different without him out there. As much flack as y'all give him, we know, hey, look, not having that guy on the field, it could spell doom for the Ravens in a lot of ways, okay? Tez Walker. I'm happy for the jump that he's made, and I got it. It's just practice right now. We got to see it on film in a game against a division rival, against a rival, non-divisional rival like Kansas City, like a Buffalo. We got to see it against those guys because that's the ultimate measuring stick of, hey, will it translate from practice to the field? Because it does us no good to catch over the shoulder or back shoulder catches or over the shoulder one-handed touchdown grabs in practice if we can't do something that's some of that nature out on the field. And I just feel like, hey, Tez Walker, as you give him more and more reps, I believe he has the ability to go out and do it in an in-game situation. So hats off to Tez Walker for not subscribing to the, hey, he's never going to be this, he's never going to be that, he's a bust, he's this, da, da, da. Like, we got to stop doing that. When a player gets drafted by the Ravens, he didn't instantly have 10 touchdowns as a receiver, or you don't have 7 interceptions as a DB, we want to write him off and say, hey, this is what it is. We got to understand, like, it takes a good 2 to 3 years to really develop a player, right? And then even then, he has to be put in a situation to go do that. Because again, nothing against him, right? We didn't know we was going to get DeAndre Hopkins, right? So that may sort of slow down his trajectory to get into the game or to be a third option as a wide receiver. So we don't know what that looks like. So we got to see him continue to say, hey, let's get behind the player. As long as he's making strides for progress to get in the starting lineup, let's keep rooting them on, because you guys got to understand too, some of these players have social media. Some of them are heavily invested in social media. They see these things that are posted about them or said about them, and you guys can call them fragile or whatever you want to call it. But I will tell you, most football players, when you say something to them, it's a response, right? Whether I believe it or I don't believe it, I use it as motivational, I internalize it, or whatever it may be, there's something that's coming out for that. So when it comes down to you saying certain things to these players, just know those players see that, and some of those players, they respond aggressively. Hey, okay, you said I was this, watch this. Like, for instance, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry heard and seen everybody saying he was washed. What did he do? Nothing but dang near get a 2,000 yards rushing season. Nothing to see here, right? Same thing with DeAndre Hopkins. They did the speed test. Like within hours of doing the speed test. I think DeAndre Hopkins has like the top three times or whatever, or maybe even the top time. And he immediately responded on social media. Not bad for a washed receiver. Yada yada yada. So again, when we do these things, as long as you talk crazy about them, make sure you give them the praise when they accomplish certain things, because that's all I ask. If I'm like, for instance, hey, Roquan Smith was fat last year. The same people that said Roquan Smith was fat last year, if he comes out and balls out in these first 4 or 5 games, and make sure we say, hey, man, Roquan look a whole lot better. You got me? Let that circle, because again, that particular thing, when you doing that, that may motivate certain players to do more, to feel like, hey, you know what, I'm supported here, right? And then that's when people fall in love with the city, and then they become household names, right? Because I know for a fact, Nate Wiggins loves the city. The city loves Nate Wiggins, right? Because of what he has done. Because we didn't sit here and say, hey man, you know, that dude sucked, man. Da, 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 da. We came out, we supported the guy. Of course, we all had our own things that we was worried about with him. But once he's shown us that he can play, we was like, hey, yeah, man, Nate Wiggins is one of our guys. Nate Wiggins is playing on the team, acting like he's been here 8 years. So support the players, right? If you got to put your take out there, whatever it may be. If it's proven to be true, got it. No harm, no foul. If it's proven to be false, no harm, no foul. I just want to make sure we're supporting. If we're going to criticize them, make sure we're supporting them when they're doing their best. Next person on the list for us is a good camp is TJ Tampa. TJ Tampa was dealing with some injuries, dealing with some confidence issues and whatnot, and to see him out there moving around, defending some players, him and Tez Walker, I like their matchup going against one another because again, these are the future. These are the guys that we believe like, hey, gonna be here in the next 5 years, giving us something on offense and defense. So I love them going against each other, and I hope we can continue to see a lot more of that. But if we don't, I'm not against him going against some of the more veteran guys. Go against if you want to go against DeAndre Hopkins, you want to run around with Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, get some, because again, I believe the whole iron sharpen iron. I believe in that, and I feel like the more we do it with our young players, the better off we are when it comes down to in-game situations. Because listen, I don't want you to be relaxed at practice. I don't want you to be super comfortable at practice. I want you to have the hardest days at practice. I want you to work your tail off. So when the game comes, man, it's second nature. I've been here before. I've been without more in the worst situations. I've been in more disadvantaged situations. And guess what? I came out on top. And what that does is you essentially harden your team. And when you harden your team, now when we get in the playoffs and we on the road, we down by 4 points. Hey man, I've been here before. We had a bunch of crowd noise. We was down by 10. We won that defensive period. We came back. We got 2 shutouts, and this is how we end up winning that particular game, if you will, when it comes down to practice. I feel like that's what needs to happen. And I think the Ravens are starting to realize that, like, hey, it's cool that we're all cool, calm, and collective at practice, but we need some practices to where, hey, look, we shutting those cameras off and we're going to get after it. We're going to get after each other. But then at the same time, I'm not trying to hurt anybody or trying to discourage anybody. I just want people to hey, look, we're going to talk trash to people. That's why I think the Jair Alexander signing was something that the Baltimore Ravens needed. Here's the reason why. You guys remember a guy in the 2019 season, a guy by the name of Mark Ingram. If you notice, right, Mark Ingram and Marcus Peters, those 2 guys were the guys to where like, hey, look, bro, if we're going to get this done or we're not going to get it done, this is how we're going to have to do it. And they rolled with the team for as long as they could. And look, you could tell me anything in the world, but you couldn't tell me that the Ravens lack confidence. You couldn't tell me not that particular year, because those particular guys, when guys made plays, they were the first ones there to dap them up. First one there to talk trash to another team about them and so forth and so on. And you kind of essentially need something like that. Not to the point where I'm disrespectful or I'm getting penalties, but to the point where like, hey, we're uplifting one another. So when we are in hostile territory, we know how to get it. We provide our own energy. We don't need the crowd energy. We can provide our own energy. A team that can provide their own energy, man, look, listen, that's a championship caliber type of team. So, on the TJ Tampa note, one thing I was thinking about, I was looking at his height and his weight in his 40 time. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, he ran a 4.58 40. I'm not sitting there, kill a guy about his 40. But that's a 40 time. I want to say it's closer to Kyle Hamilton. I got to remember what Kyle Hamilton's 40 was. And he's 6'1", 190. I'm thinking, maybe I'm crazy, but y'all let me know what y'all think. TJ Tampa conversion to safety if we need to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if there are not already talks about him getting reps there. Here's the reason why. Instinctively, covering of the field, his range, his tackling ability. I feel like all of that works towards our benefit if he goes to play safety. Not sitting there saying, "Hey, look, stick him in there, third safety, don't move him around, whatever it may be." I'm sitting there saying, "Let's look at it. Let's look at it. Give him an opportunity if we still need that third safety, and let's see what he can become when it comes down to it." And I'm saying that because, again, he has the build for it. He has the sense for it. Why not let him do it? Why not let him do it? He has good enough hands as well. I think TJ Tampa converting to safety would be one of the looks if I'm the Baltimore Ravens secondary coach. I would think that, especially based off the cornerback depth that we have. TJ Tampa to safety, man, make it happen. Let's see what it looks like. All right, and then the last two we're going to talk about is surprises. We're going to talk about Dalen Walker. Oh, no, it's not Walker. I'm sorry. Dalen Wade. It should be Dalen Wade. Is autocorrect crazy, but whatever. Dalen Wade. Dalen Wade has been a safety blanket in certain situations for either quarterback, whether it be Lamar Jackson or Cooper Rush. I got it. We didn't expect a lot from this guy. I knew what kind of receiver he was, having coming out of Ole Miss. I knew what he was. Just to see him continuously work and get back after it, because there was a time to where he was the forgotten receiver. He was forgotten about, left on the practice squad, released and re-signed or whatever it may be. I just felt like this kid is working his tail off, and I feel like this is helping develop our DBs, right? But then it's also letting our receivers know, hey, don't get too comfortable because I'm coming to take one of y'all's spot. If y'all slip up, whether it be practice squad or whether it be wide receiver 5 or 6, I'm gonna be in the mix. If you keep lollygagging around out here on the field, or you keep dropping passes and whatnot, I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna take your spot. The other guy is in the same boat as Dalen Wade and LeJohntay Webster out of Colorado. Look, listen, it's no surprise that he's a quick, shifty guy, but there's a whole nother monster when we see what he's able to do once he gets the ball in his hands. And I think Ravens Nation were exposed to that to see what he's able to do. Because being out here in Colorado, I've seen what he's able to do. And for me, man, if I would love it if he can work his way into the wide receiver rotation to put him out there, give him 3 to 4 targets per game, and let's see where this thing happens. Because we're talking making magic here, and what I love about it is because we all, like so many of us, absolutely hated seeing Zay Flowers on certain situations, whether it be screen passes, whether it be jet sweeps. We just did not like seeing it. And here's the reason why, right? The reason why we didn't like seeing it because he likes to juke a lot. I'm trying to juke people and whatnot. With LeJohntay, if I got a crease, it's over. One move and I'm out of there. And I got to see what your 40 time look like. That's the nature of LeJohntay Webster has when it comes down to, all right, man, you pull up beside me, you better have a good 40. Better have a good 40 time. If not, I'll holler at you. And that's where the difference are. The other part about it is now we can put him on the jet motion or the screen action, and we can send Zay out and about. Because again, I think having speed everywhere is just only going to help Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry even more. And I will tell you, man, I am super excited that we got a chance to get LeJohntay Webster on the roster. But then there's a whole nother monster if Todd Monken really digs in and say, hey, let me get a package developed for DeJounte Webster to get the ball in his hands, whether it be quick routes, whether it be a shot play, whatever it may be. It cannot be just special teams because we've seen how dynamic this kid is with the ball in his hand, and they could be really, really special for years to come if the Ravens play their cards right with DeJounte Webster. So, all right. So, I'm gonna see if you guys got any questions or anything. Okay, no questions or anything like that. All right, so that pretty much wraps up this episode. Thank you guys for all you guys do for me, all the support. Again, if you haven't already, be sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think about the show. If you think it was good, if you think it was bad, you're not gonna hurt my feelings. I'm here to service you guys. Just let me know what would you like to see in the future and or whatnot. But before I go, if you guys don't have any questions, I'm gonna show you guys something that I got in the mail, and I think it's pretty cool. So, all right. So as you guys know, as you guys can see all the stuff behind me, I got more Ravens gear than I can imagine. If I want to, open up my own Baltimore Ravens fan shop, I probably could. But this is the flag that I got in the mail. I seen it on one of you guys' pages. I wanted to go back and look at it and see who pages was, but I seen it on somebody's page. And so this is the flag I got, y'all. So you guys see that? It says the flock at football. And now here's the Baltimore Raven logo, and it's the Lido Pizza sign on the bottom right. So yeah, pretty good little flag. That I'm gonna find a place to hang that up. And then this is one of the things that I got in the mail. This is a Lamar Jackson figurine. It's by Clark's Toys. I don't know if you guys can see that with him with the ball in his hand, and he's looking to get busy. So yeah, those are the things I got in the mail today. Yeah, so training camp is going on right now as we speak. And when it comes down to the training camp, make sure we understand like, hey, these are not game situations just yet. It's practice. So whatever we see, hey, whether this person had a bad day at camp or whatever it may be, it's only development. It's only development right now. Once we get to the season and these things starting to happen in the season, that's when we can get up in the arms about. But continue to support your team, support the guys as much as you can, because again, that does help those guys work out of that funk that they may be in. Or if a guy is doing really good, that makes them want to continue doing what they're doing because they feed off the energy. A football player feeds off the energy that the crowd is giving them. And if we're out there watching, hey, don't be a negative Nancy all the time. Try to cheer up your players and keep them motivated as much as possible. So, all right. So we don't have any questions or anything. Until then, thank you guys again for all the love and support. And talk to you guys soon. You guys have a good one. Peace.